Kevin, what is the significance of today's publication?
It's whether we do get nearer that truth, and why did Britain go into a war which is now widely considered to be disastrous. 179 British servicemen and women were killed, many more were maimed, hundreds of thousands of Iraqis lost their lives. Is the world a safer place? I don't think it is. Most people would agree that war was an error, and I think the reputations of politicians, intelligence officers, civil servants and a lot of others will be shredded.
It's 7 years in its writing. Cost us £10 million, which is what I said a moment ago. Assumed that when it was commissioned by Gordon Brown it was going to take 2 or 3 years. Why did it take so long?
I think there was a problem getting the release of some of the classified secret intelligence documents, particularly arguments with the Americans, and also people who will be criticised had a right under a process called the Maxwellisation to see the evidence against them. And they've challenged it with lawyers, and it's dragged out. It is ridiculous. It's taken 7 years when the conflict itself was 6.
Do we know how cooperative the Americans have been in this report?
I think they were trying to block the release of some of their documents, the correspondence between Tony Blair and George Bush, who was then the president. There is establishments want to keep information secret. Happens in Britain, happens in the USA. They don't want the public to see their private conversations because often they said things in unguarded moments which we will find incredibly telling, but they will find incriminating.
This is a big day, obviously, for the families of those that have lost their lives, who have been waiting for these answers for 7 years. Will they get the answers they're hoping for today?
I fear not, and the debate will go on. A lot of calls are on judgments. The question of whether or not the war was illegal will at best be skirted around, at worst will be avoided at all, yeah. And of course, if you've gone and you've come back and you've been badly wounded or you've lost a loved one, and the war looks more and more as if it was the threat was exaggerated or you were lied to, it must add to the pain of those who've lost.
Well, it's a perfect time to bring in Hannah, who your life changed forever. You were caught in a mortar blast, lost a leg, blind in one eye, deployed to Iraq at the end of February in 2007. And you say you went there to do the job you signed up for?
Yeah, absolutely. As a soldier, you put your faith in the politicians that they're going to make the right decision. It's not up to you to question whether that decision is right. No soldier wants to believe that we were sent there illegally. And I think one of the really important things that we should focus on is that it's been questioned today whether soldiers will be held accountable by The Hague for war crimes. If soldiers didn't deploy when they were ordered to by our government, we would be sent to court-martial. And so I think that it's absolutely diabolical to think that, you know, we could be held accountable for decisions that were made.
Yeah, that would be incredibly wrong. The report is also going to examine whether you were under-resourced or ill-prepared, something that you've been asking the question also.
Well, I don't need to ask the question. The night I was injured, did not have the correct body armour. There was no body armour available. We were using snatch Land Rovers, which were not suitable for roadside bombs. I experienced first-hand out there the lack of kit we had, and that is another question that people need to be held accountable for. And if the buck stops with Tony Blair, it stops with Tony Blair. But somebody needs to answer how, if we went into war illegally, not only that, but then how we were lacking kit. We were sending soldiers in there, you know, and reducing their chances of actually even surviving, getting home.
You've been quite honest and bold, and you said that actually you're expecting a whitewash.
I would like to believe it wasn't going to be a whitewash, but it's taken so long, and everybody's been very quick to say that the purpose of this report is not to apportion blame. And I would like to believe that hopefully it wouldn't be a whitewash, but that at least there is evidence so that we can start to look at who was responsible for this bad decision and also how it happened, because I don't ever want to see us go into an unjust war, an illegal war, and occupy a country illegally in the future again. And it's got to be, you know, it needs to be ensured that this doesn't happen again.
So it's accountability that you want. And so, Kevin, do we know how much has been released regarding the communications between America and Britain? We went in on the back of America's coattails on this. So what do we know about our involvement and how much we were asked, forced, coerced to go in?
That's right. Memos came out some time ago showing a year before the vote in the House of Commons to go to war, Tony Blair had already decided, and he'd agreed with George Bush they had to remove Saddam Hussein. The most secret memos will not be published in their full form. They will be referred to because Chilcot couldn't get permission to see it all. But the question whether it's a whitewash or not, I think most people have made up their minds already on this war and will read it to take what they want out of it. And there will be a lot of unanswered questions, as Hannah says. And I don't think this question of legality, whether you want to see Tony Blair in an international court on trial, being found guilty of being a war criminal, I don't think the report will go there.
Would you like to see that, Hannah? Is that something you would...
I think that, yeah, the buck has to stop with somebody, and I understand that Tony Blair, you know, had a team of advisors, but ultimately, as our elected Prime Minister, the buck stopped with him.
What do you think? I mean, all eyes will be on him today.
Yep.
What do you expect from him? Will he say anything?
Yeah, he will make public statements later. He'll appear on TV. I think he will, if we go on what he's already said, he'll apologise for mistakes that were made, including the lack of equipment, and it was almost the case that the army was ready to fight that war at the end of it rather than at the start of it. And I saw too in Afghanistan how if soldiers were being sent out in Land Rovers that basically a farmer could buy.